This is Cerebral Cinema. Movies of the mind.
Time and the little gray cells. These will always catch the criminal.
Hercule Poirot, Detective Extraordinary. From the thrill-packed pages of Agatha Christie's unforgettable stories of corpses, clues, and crime, Mutual now brings you, complete with bowler hat and magnificent mustache, your favorite detective, Hercule Poirot, starring Harold Huber in Murder is a Private Affair.
Hercule Poirot to see Madame Baldwin.
This way, sir. Madame expects you. Mr. Hercule Poirot.
Ah, Mr. Poirot, come right in. My family has been panting with eagerness waiting for you.
Speak for yourself, Aunt Amelia.
You see, Mr. Poirot, you'll get to know the family without my introducing you. That was my stupid nephew, Henry Baldwin.
Really, Aunt Amelia? I think this procedure of yours is not only high-handed but insulting.
You hear that, Mr. Poirot? She thinks I'm insulting her. That's my nephew Henry's wife, Alice. Henry's the only one of the Baldwins who married a plain girl like Alice. That's why we call him stupid. One reason, at any rate.
Excuse me, Madame, but I do not see the place of Hercule Poirot in this, what appears to be a family squabble.
Your place is where I tell you. You get your check for this little matter.
Madame, when you sent for me, I thought you might be in difficulty. I see now that I was mistaken. Au revoir.
Just a minute, Mr. Poirot.
Madame, I have fortunately attained a place in my profession where it is not necessary for me to be insulted by impolite ladies, nor to watch this same lady inflict insults, deserved or not, upon her family.
Good for you, Mr. Poirot.
Thank you, mademoiselle.
I'm sorry if I was rude, Mr. Poirot, but it's partly force of habit and partly annoyance. Also, I take it as one of the privileges of the old. Will you forgive me?
But of course, Madame.
I brought you here to solve a murder, quietly and with no fuss.
Madame, I suppose you realize that is a most amazing statement. Murder is never quiet.
Exactly. And I'm not going to have this fine old house of mine tramped on by a lot of heavy-footed policemen with photographers taking pictures all over the place.
Madame, it is difficult to follow you. Do you mean that there has already been a murder, or that you suspect there is going to be one?
Both. My maid was killed this morning, and I am going to be killed as soon as the murderer thinks it's safe.
Madame, this is a matter for the police.
Oh, fiddlesticks. There's no necessity for the police. The whole thing can be settled today.
How, Madame?
Very simply. My maid was killed because someone of my family mistook her for me. Quiet. I may be old, but I'm not a doddering imbecile. Not yet.
And what leads you to make this assumption, Madame?
Mr. Poirot, I may not be a detective, but when an old lady in her 70s has a fortune of $6 million to be distributed upon her death to the members of a greedy and impatient family...
Mother, I've stood all I'm going to. I don't know what the rest of the family's going to do, but I'm getting out of here.
Go right ahead, Lawrence, my son. But remember, the murderer of Marie is going to the electric chair.
Madame, I do not know what has been going on in this house. But once again, I strongly advise you to call the police.
Well, Lawrence, if you're going, please close the door gently behind you.
Mr. Poirot, are you going to take this case?
I can scarcely answer that, monsieur, because as yet I do not have the facts.
It's very simple. May I, Mother?
Certainly, as long as I'm here to see that you tell the truth.
Well, this morning, Mother went into the pantry to prepare the coffee and found her maid, Marie, stabbed to death. She immediately jumped to the insane conclusion that someone of us had done it.
Mr. Poirot, it's well known that I insist on preparing my own coffee every morning. All the members of my family know it. There was no one in the house except the servants and the people you see in this room. Well, today I overslept, something I haven't done in years. And when I went down to the pantry, I found Marie. She's very much like me, approximately the same age and build.
But, Madame, I still do not see why you do not call the police.
It's very simple, Mr. Poirot. I know that someone in this room is a murderer, and I want you to find out which one it is. And then, when you've discovered the murderer, he or she will commit suicide. and we'll simply give the story to the papers as a double suicide. That will clear everything up, and... Where are you going?
To call the police, madame. Your suggestion is not only vicious, but also it is against the law.
Mr. Poirot, you are brought here on a confidential matter, and
Murder, madame, is never confidential.
Jenkins, I told you we were not to be disturbed.
I know, madam, but this is about Marie.
Marie? What about her? She's dead.
Yes, I know, madam. But Marie, or rather, her body has disappeared. It's no longer lying in the pantry.
Don't feed the animals, miss. It's against the rules.
Lawrence, look at that magnificent beast. Look at the way he walks up and down the cage.
Tigers do have power in their walk, don't they, Olivia?
They're beautiful.
This is vaguely reminiscent of you, darling. That same feline grace.
Why, Lawrence, you improve each time I see you.
You couldn't, Olivia. You were too overwhelming the first time I met you.
When I was engaged to Henry Baldwin, you mean? By the way, how is dear Henry and that stupid little wife of his?
Worried, Olivia. Very worried.
How did it go?
Are you sure it's all right to talk here?
In the Central Park Zoo, my dear. No one's around but the tigers and the children.
Well, I don't know quite how to say. Oh, Mother blew up, of course.
I knew she would.
Oh.
Don't jump, Lawrence. She can't get at you.
Well, I'm nervous. Mother went right to work, assembled us all in the library, and accused one of us of trying to murder her.
Was she frightened?
Well, that's hard to say, Olivia. You know, in many ways, Mother is like you. You're both strong women. Maybe that's why I love you so much.
Oh, never mind that, Lawrence. Go on about Amelia.
She called in Hercule Poirot.
Poirot? That's right, Tiger. I don't like it either. Poirot's about the only one smart enough to see through this.
Then you think we ought to drop it, huh?
No. No, we'll just have to watch our steps, Lawrence.
I don't know, Poirot, but I swear that sometimes I think police headquarters is a much quieter place when you weren't in New York.
Oh, come now, mon cher Stevens. Surely you are not saying that the city of New York had no murders before Hercule Poirot arrived.
Sure we had, but they were simple gang killings. Some torpedo put the slug on another hood, and, well, there you had it.
There you have it indeed, mon ami, an entirely new language.
Well, I understand that better than this Baldwin dame. She's sure a holy terror. Followed me around the house, bawling me out and calling me names. Poirot, where is that maid's body?
Alas, mon brave, that is a question that I ask myself.
And who could have taken it? Now, you tell me that the whole family was sitting there in the library with you.
That is right, mon vieux.
And we checked on the servants. None of them could possibly have moved it.
Mon ami, there is something in this case that is out of focus. Observe, we are seeing it in a distorted light.
I'm not seeing it at all. We checked every inch of that pantry for bloodstains, and not a one. Everything washed clean, which means that whoever took the corpse away also had time to clean up the pantry floor. Poirot, I'd give my eye teeth if you'd gotten a look at that body.
It is not the body that bothers me so much as the feeling I have that unless we are careful, there will be another murder.
So you believe the old lady's story that someone's out after her?
I neither believe nor disbelieve it, Stevens. There is something that we have missed, something that is in the back of my mind, something that would open up this whole case for us.
Now, look, give me something to go on, will you, Poirot? Do you think that the old lady Baldwin is in danger, or don't you?
But of course she is in danger, mon ami. But from what source, I cannot yet tell. Sometimes I almost feel as if...
As if what?
As if she were in danger more from herself than from anyone else.
Mr. Hercule Poirot, madam.
No, have him come in, Jenkins.
This way, sir.
Bonjour, madame.
Good day to you, Mr. Poirot. I suppose you've come back here to do some more snooping?
Madame, for a woman who has just stated that she was sure an attempt was made on her life, you are singularly unafraid.
What good will it do me to be afraid? Certainly I should be if I felt that I had to depend on either you or the police. You've done nothing but track up the house and ask a lot of silly questions.
Then you are relying on yourself to stave off whatever threatens you, madame?
I've done it all my life, and I'm too old to change now.
May I ask what it is that you intend to do?
Yes. I'm going to change my will. Leave every cent to charity. That ought to stop the wolves from howling for my blood.
I ask myself, madame, I asked myself if they were howling before today.
What? What do you mean? Of course they were. Oh, excuse me. Hello?
Hello, Amelia.
Who is this?
Not a friend, Amelia, not a friend. Aren't you frightened?
Listen to this, Mr. Poirot. No, why should I be?
You were right, you know. Marie was killed by mistake. But perhaps that was all for the best. Now you know we mean what we say.
And who is we?
Shall we say your creditors?
You'll have to be more specific than that.
I'm afraid I can't, and I haven't much time. Amelia, you're lucky to be alive. You won't be unless you give us $50,000.
You won't get it.
We'll mail you instructions as to how we want it and when and where.
You're wasting your time, whoever you are.
I think not, Amelia. I think not. Marie died quickly and painlessly. But there's no reason why you shouldn't be longer about it and suffer. Think it over.
There. You still think that I'm fooling you, Mr. Poirot. You heard that?
No, madame. This telephone call gives one furiously to think, eh?
So maybe some good will come out of your thinking.
Madame, you are a strong-willed person. May I advise that you either leave the city for a short time or take police protection?
Oh, nonsense. I don't scare easily. And I won't have the police tramping around this house. I thought you said you had an idea.
That is quite true, madame. But my idea simply tells me that there have been evil forces unchained in this house.
Well, I told you that.
Au revoir, madame. And please, if you will not heed my advice, make sure you bolt your door.
Henry.
Yes, dear? Say, this is exceptionally good coffee tonight.
Thank you, darling.
I married a good cook, didn't I, Alice?
Yes, Henry. You married a good cook. Henry.
Yes, dear?
Oh, nothing.
Come on. There's something bothering you. I can see it with that little worry line between your eyes.
Henry, why did you marry me?
Oh. So we're back to that again, huh?
Yes, we're back to that again. I was Alice Lennox, a plain little girl, and you were Henry Baldwin, nephew of the great Amelia. Oh, it was all wrong.
You mean you don't love me, Alice?
Not love you. Henry, you know I'm so mad about you it hurts. It's just that I can't understand why you married me.
Because I love you, darling.
And what about Olivia?
Oh, Alice, that's just part of my wild oats. Every man who's worth his salt is entitled to a few wild oats, darling.
I never should have married you, never. But, Henry, you don't know what it meant to me. You don't know what you meant to me. Here I was, perfectly resigned to living out the rest of my life as an old maid, and then someone beyond my wildest dream falls in love with me.
Darling, it happens sometimes. Let's see how that is, dear.
I'm afraid. I'm afraid to let anyone in. I'm so sure that every time I open that door, someone will be standing there who'll take you away from me.
Now, don't worry, darling.
Bonsoir, madame. Bonsoir, monsieur. May I intrude for a little while?
Oh, why, yes, come in.
Oh, but I see that I interfere with your dinner. That is unforgivable.
No, Mr. Poirot. We're just finishing. Get some coffee?
No, thank you. I will be brief, eh? That little scene this morning at the house of Madame Baldwin, that was most unfortunate, n'est-ce pas?
Well, we're quite used to Aunt Amelia's tantrums, Mr. Poirot.
You mean, monsieur, that your aunt is as insulting as that always?
Only since Henry married me, Mr. Poirot.
Madame Baldwin objected to your marriage, then?
Only enough to cut Henry out of her will altogether and have him fired from his job.
Ah, yes. Madame Baldwin is a stubborn woman.
Well, this was one time that she didn't get her way. I married Alice and not Olivia.
Pardon? Olivia?
Olivia Wilson, the actress. You've heard of her?
Not until now, mademoiselle. Tell me, in the Baldwin family, there are you, Monsieur Henry, and Madame Baldwin's son, Monsieur Lawrence, and that young lady who sat in the library so quietly and said nothing, yes?
Oh, that's Jean. That's Lawrence's sister.
She's a very sweet girl, Mr. Poirot, but completely terrified by Aunt Amelia.
You needn't worry about Jean, darling. She's the smartest one of us all.
And what makes you say that, Monsieur Henry?
Well, a few years ago, Jean fell in love with a nice enough boy by the name of Harrison.
And, of course, Aunt Amelia wouldn't hear of Jean marrying him.
You see, Aunt Amelia likes to choose the people that Baldwins marry.
So poor little Jean didn't marry Harrison.
But she is one of the Baldwins who has her cake and eats it, too. She still sneaks out and sees him on the
Oh,
side.
Henry, don't. You make it sound so mean and hateful.
Yes, there is so much in this case that is spiteful and evil, madame. So much that it worries me.
Tell me, Mr. Poirot, have you found Marie's body yet?
Not yet, monsieur.
Mr. Poirot, why did you really come here? Do you think we had anything to do with what happened?
I came, madame, to see if you had a telephone.
Poirot, will you please tell me why we're on this train heading for a little town like Boonville?
Because, mon ami, as I have already pointed out, Boonville is the home of Madame Baldwin's maid, Marie.
Now, look, Poirot, there are some things I just won't believe. I've been a cop for over 15 years now, and I know that one of the toughest things to do is get rid of a body. Bodies just don't disappear into thin air.
Très bien, Stevens. You are on the right track. Continue.
I am? Well, the way I figure it is this. No one of the family could have stolen the body,
Precisely, mon ami. Now you are making good use of the little gray cells.
and no one of the servants could have taken it.
My congratulations, mon brave.
Yet here we are on a train, which means that somebody not only grabbed the body and washed the pantry floor, but they shipped the body off to Boonville.
No. It is here you go wrong.
Oh.
Regard, Stevens. I once told you we had the wrong view of this case, eh? We were looking at it from the wrong angle. The center of this is a selfish, dominating old woman ruling a family and being hated by this family.
What's that got to do with Marie's body?
In a way, everything. You have just said that no one could have taken the corpse, and you were right. And yet the body was taken away and the floor washed. There is therefore only one possible explanation.
Sure. The body got up and walked away.
Exactly, mon ami. But first, Marie washed the pantry floor, so we would think that the bloodstains which had never been there had been washed away.
What? What are you trying?
Well, good morning, Lawrence.
Good morning.
I've been waiting here for you for some time. I rather expected you'd be late after reading the morning papers.
What do you mean by that, Olivia?
So you really did it, darling. You know, I'm beginning to admire you more and more.
Now, stop it, Olivia. You know I had nothing to do with Mother's death.
Oh, Lawrence. You can break down and tell me the truth. After all, it's strange that it should happen just the way we planned it so many times. Stabbed in a bedroom, no one around.
Olivia, you're crazy. I tell you, I didn't do it.
Have it your own way, Lawrence, but he doesn't seem to believe you either.
Olivia, I won't have you talking this way.
Well, then, Lawrence, darling, tell me who did do it. And don't say it was a burglar.
I don't know. I swear that's the truth, Olivia. I don't know who did it.
And what are the police doing about it?
Oh, they've been all over the house. Told the family that none of us could leave town. They even had Henry and Alice over and questioned them thoroughly.
Was Poirot with them?
Yes, but he didn't say much. Just went around shaking his head and peering into corners. But why are you so interested? You... Olivia.
What, darling?
Olivia, where were you last night? You broke a date with me.
So I did.
Olivia, where were you?
Oh, Lawrence, you're stupid to ask me. You won't like it when I tell you.
I want to know, where were you?
All right. I had dinner with your biggest rival for my affections, Stuart Charles. And a very interesting dinner, too.
I don't believe you.
It's easy enough to check. Just call Stuart, not. Lawrence, that man over there with the mustache. Quick, who is he?
Where? Why, that's it.
Poirot, of course.
Yes.
Oh, you fool, you stupid, blundering fool. You let him follow you here.
But, Olivia, I didn't know. You can't
Shut up
blame
and
me.
listen. We're going to walk out of here together. When we get to Fifth Avenue, you can turn downtown. I'll turn uptown. After that, I don't care what happens to you. But I promise you one thing. Mr. Poirot won't be able to stay with me.
But, Olivia...
Come on. Henry, darling, I'm sorry I'm late, but I had to get rid of a man.
As I remember it, Olivia, that was always your trouble.
Oh, but this is different. A different kind of a man. As a matter of fact, I got rid of him mainly because of you.
Well, now, that was very considerate of you, Olivia. But you seem to forget that I don't object any longer if you bring someone else along when you meet me.
I didn't bring him along, darling. He was following me. And his name was Poirot.
All right, Olivia, what do you want?
Information. Tell me how you killed Amelia.
Even if I had, I wouldn't be fool enough to tell you.
Henry, don't you ever get bored with that dull wife of yours?
That is an interesting question, Mademoiselle Olivia.
Oh,
But I feel that I can give the answer.
I was sure I'd shaken you off.
But of course, that was the impression I wanted you to have.
What's the big idea, Olivia? Is this something you're trying to spring on me?
Monsieur, I assure you that this is one time that Mademoiselle Olivia is completely innocent. She had no idea when she telephoned you that she was arranging an appointment for 3. Tell me, monsieur, why did you meet Mademoiselle?
Why should I?
Because it is most important. Mademoiselle Olivia is involved in a plot. In this plot, she has 2 assistants. One of them I already know. The other I am seeking.
Well, that's ridiculous. That's the most absurd story I ever heard. A plot. Really, Mr. Poirot, your mind is much too melodramatic.
But of course, mademoiselle, we have had a murder and many threats. That is not melodrama, eh, mademoiselle?
A murder? Was that 2?
Ah, no, only 1. Mary is in perfect health.
She's what?
And now, will you tell me why you consented to meet mademoiselle?
Because of Alice, Mr. Poirot.
Oh, Henry, darling, that's funny. It's too funny.
Strangely enough, mademoiselle, that is the one reason that I will accept.
Well, thank you, Mr. Poirot. You know how Alice feels about our marriage. She's worried all the time because she thinks she isn't beautiful.
How right she is.
She has more charm and sweetness in her little finger than you have in your whole glamorous makeup, Olivia. Mr. Poirot, you can see for yourself that this girl is a troublemaker. She's always been that way. And when she phoned me and told me that she had something interesting to tell me, I thought I'd better meet her and see what mischief she was cooking up now.
I see.
I wonder if you do, Mr. Poirot. I could hardly call your progress startling up to this point.
And you are right, mademoiselle. But there have been too many cooks in the mischief in this case. It is time that Hercule Poirot took over the cooking. And I assure you, I shall cook the goose of the murderer. Stephen, take your feet from the desk and come with me.
Where are we going? What are you up to, Poirot?
I have been making assignations.
What are you talking about? We have a murderer to catch.
Precisely, mon ami. A murderer who killed for hate and love. And therefore, I, Hercule Poirot, have been playing Cupid.
Excuse me, Poirot, if I say this is the first time I've ever seen Cupid with a mustache.
But of course, monsieur. And I assure you that I am not particularly proud of the role. In this case, I am bringing together 2 people whom I dislike. But come, I have set events in motion which should catch the criminal.
All right, but I wish you'd tell me what you're going to do. There are too many suspects in this case, Poirot. Any one of the family could have done it. Not one of them has an alibi for last night.
And do not overlook Mademoiselle Olivia. She is a most dangerous woman.
Now, look, if you know who did it, let's arrest him and get it over with.
A miracle, a taxi.
Huh?
Taxi!
Where are we going?
298 Preston Drive, please.
That's where Henry Baldwin lives. Is he the guy who did it?
Mon ami, I do not think that Monsieur Baldwin is at home.
Poirot, will you please tell me what's going on?
Monsieur Stevens, I told you that I am not proud of what I have done, eh? But murder is a crime which calls for any action.
And what did you do?
I think, Stevens, I have sent out an invitation to murder.
Henry. Well, what on earth brings you here? I'm so surprised I'm forgetting my manners. Come in.
Stop acting, Olivia. You know very well you sent for me.
Darling, are you out of your mind? I did nothing of the sort. I'd hardly send for you when I expect Lawrence in a very few minutes. And I don't think he'll be very pleased to find you here.
Well, then what's this, a gag?
It's a telephone message, obviously. It says that you're to come over here right away. Henry, I swear to you I didn't call you.
Olivia, if you're lying to me...
All right, twist my arm. But look at me. Henry, I didn't send that message.
All right. I believe you. But who did?
I don't know. Somebody is trying to involve us in something.
I'd better get out of here before Lawrence shows up.
It couldn't have been Lawrence.
I don't care who it was. I don't want
Henry,
him...
do you think Poirot could have done it?
What? Why would he do a thing like that?
I don't know, unless he thinks that
What?
I killed Amelia.
Why would he send me a message to bring me here?
I don't know. But, Henry, I'm glad. Aren't you?
I'm getting out of here.
What are you afraid of, Henry?
I'm afraid of a lot of
Of
things.
course you are. You've always loved me, darling. You know in your heart you'd have married me in a minute if only Amelia had had the brains not to object to our marriage instead of trying to throw us together.
Well, that's not true.
Isn't it? Isn't it, Henry? Oh, darling.
Lawrence,
No, it's not Lawrence, Henry. Me, Alice.
I can explain, Alice.
You don't have to explain, Henry. Just what I always knew.
Alice!
Henry, make her put down that knife. No, Olivia. I used this knife once before.
No, don't say it.
Yes, Henry. I killed Aunt Amelia. I always hated her. She was evil. And she hated me for marrying you. She tried every way she could to ruin our life. I never thought of killing her until that dreadful day when someone put the idea in my mind. With Marie.
I did that, Alice. We wanted to frighten Amelia into giving us some money. We never thought of murder.
Funny, isn't it? You should put the idea of murder into my head. I'm going to kill you, Olivia. You'll never have Henry. You're not going to live, Olivia.
Put the knife down, Madame Alice.
Let's drop it.
So it was you. It was you all the time. It was you who sent me the note telling me I'd find Henry here.
Yes, Madame. I had to make you drop your mask and come out in the open. Reveal yourself. As I said to Madame Amelia the other day, murder cannot be private.
Be sure to listen next week when Agatha Christie, America's favorite mystery writer, brings you her favorite detective, Hercule Poirot, starring Harold Huber in The Bride Wore Fright. Music for Hercule Poirot is composed and conducted by Sylvan Levin. The program is directed by Carl Eastman. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Time and the little gray cells. These will always catch the criminal.
Hercule Poirot, Detective Extraordinary. From the thrill-packed pages of Agatha Christie's unforgettable stories of corpses, clues, and crime, Mutual now brings you, complete with bowler hat and magnificent mustache, your favorite detective, Hercule Poirot, starring Harold Huber in The Bride Wore Fright.
Pierre, it's good to get home. 1,000 thunders, what is it called with the lights? Well, there is always the lamp.
Oh, please, I'm not a thief. I'll go out quietly. I didn't take anything I didn't really. Unless you count a cup of coffee. I was so hungry, I'll pay for that. Just let me get out of here, and please don't say anything about it.
Please, mademoiselle, give me a moment to think, and let me turn on the lamp and look at you.
Oh.
Oh, indeed, mademoiselle. Or should I say madame? Inasmuch as you are wearing a wedding gown?
No, it's not madame. That's why I'm here.
Mademoiselle, I am not a minister.
No, you don't understand. I didn't get married. I ran away. They chased me, so I hid in this apartment.
And how did you get in?
Well, I ran in here because I saw Peter coming around the corner. I ran into the elevator and told the boy to take me to the top floor. And then I went up on the roof. And I knew Peter would come after me, and so I climbed down the fire escape, and your window was open.
That was most careless of me.
Oh, please, you're not going to have me arrested, are you? I'm not a thief. Really, I'm not.
Mademoiselle, we will discuss that question in due time. Just now, there are many things I do not understand. First, you are in the costume of a bride. Where is the groom?
Oh, why, that's Peter.
You mean you were running away from your future husband?
Yes. But please, that's something I don't want to talk about. May I go now?
You may go most certainly, mademoiselle, but have you given thought to where you are going? In that dress, you will most certainly attract attention, and you cannot spend the remainder of the night breaking into strange apartments.
I know, but I'm trying to get to my aunt. She'll help me.
Then you are not returning to your home?
Oh, no, I can't. Oh, hide me, please.
No, mademoiselle, that is out of the question.
Well, I'll run into the kitchen.
That is useless, mademoiselle.
But don't you see someone's after me?
That, mademoiselle, is a possibility. But hiding will not help.
Oh, please don't answer.
I beg your pardon, but did you see anything of a girl in the wedding? Why, there you are, my dear Eleanor. Now, what in the world did you want to run off for? You can't mean to say that I've already begun to treat you badly, even before we're married.
I'm not going to marry you, Peter. It's no use.
Oh, come along, dear. You're upset.
I'm not leaving here.
But your father's worried about you, Eleanor.
You can tell Father to stop worrying. I've made up my mind, Peter.
Darling, think of the impression we must be making on a complete stranger.
Oh, he's no stranger. This is a very good friend of mine, Peter. That's why I came here. I want you to meet Mr.
Hercule Poirot is the name, Eleanor.
Poirot.
Yes, the famous detective. And it's surprising that he should suddenly have become such a great friend of yours.
Monsieur, you have the advantage of me. You evidently know my name.
I'm Peter Cheney, Major Peter Cheney, and this is my fiancée, Eleanor Carlin.
You mean I was your fiancée?
Eleanor, stop this nonsense and come along with me. We've bothered Mr. Poirot enough.
I assure you, Monsieur Cheney, it is no bother.
There, you hear what Mr. Poirot is saying? I'm not leaving.
You don't mean to say that you intend to spend the night here?
And why not?
Well, really, Eleanor, you can't expect your father or me to...
Monsieur Cheney, come, you flatter me. I am not the man for the ladies. But Mademoiselle Carlin shall be chaperoned.
Mr. Poirot, for a man of your reputation, you don't seem to understand the situation. Miss Carlin is my fiancée.
Monsieur, it is you who does not understand me. This young lady evidently wishes not to be your fiancée. In addition, she seems to be frightened of you.
Ridiculous.
Frightened enough to run away from you on her wedding day and break into a strange apartment.
She's just upset.
Exactly, monsieur. And I think it is your presence that upsets her.
I see. Well, I suppose I should have known. This is too good an opportunity for any private detective to pass up. When you saw me and heard my name, you knew there'd be something in it for you.
Monsieur, I assure you, you are not very astute. Mademoiselle Carlin, would you be kind enough to telephone your aunt and ask her to stay with you?
I certainly will.
Now, if I give you a check for $5,000 as a retainer, will you then agree that Eleanor has been acting foolishly and let her come with me?
Really, monsieur, you are an intelligent man, but with one weakness. You are evidently under the impression that money can purchase anything.
Why not? The check is good, you know.
I have no doubt of it, monsieur. Keep it. I am not interested.
Mr. Poirot, I am warning you. You're making a big mistake.
Mr. Poirot, my aunt isn't in. She doesn't answer.
In that case, mademoiselle, we shall have to find another chaperone, eh?
I'm Peter Cheney, the big game hunter. Does that mean anything to you?
Only that you like to kill animals, monsieur.
I've spent most of the last years in South America. The war raised the devil with big game hunting in Africa.
I imagine the war must have interfered considerably with your pleasure. You have my condolences, monsieur. Excuse me.
Police headquarters. Stevens speaking.
Ah, Monsieur Stevens, I have a favor to ask of you.
Oh, sure, Poirot. Anything at all short of murder.
Well, this is most simple, mon ami. I wish you to spend the night with me in my apartment. I have a young lady here, and...
What? A girl?
Stevens, you will give yourself bad blood shouting so. I want you to act as chaperone.
Oh. All right, Poirot. Anything you say.
And now, monsieur, if you have nothing more to say, we shall bid you good night, eh?
Oh, yes. Oh, there's one thing. I have the finest collection of human heads in the world.
You refer, of course, to the shrunken heads of the South American Indians?
Yes, precisely. I found out how to do the job. It's fascinating. My collection is very fine. I was just thinking, your mustaches would add to that collection.
An amusing fancy, monsieur. When we have more time, I must show you my scrapbook of criminals I have sent to jail. I do not believe there is a big game hunter among them.
Well, at least I'm getting a good breakfast out of this, Poirot. What's the matter? You're not eating.
I am worried, mon ami.
Now, look, Poirot, you've done enough for Miss Carlin already. She's going over to her aunt's this morning, and that's all there is to it.
I only wish you were right, mon vieux. Monsieur Cheney will not let go so easily.
Well, I still don't see what you can do about it. After all, it isn't a crime to want to marry a girl.
Good morning, Mr. Poirot.
Oh,
Inspector Stevens.
Good morning.
I want to thank you for being so kind to me. That smells good.
And it is good, mademoiselle. Come, sit down. And
Okay.
this time you can drink coffee and not worry about being taken for a thief, eh? Yes, monsieur?
Eleanor, I'm surprised at you. To think that my daughter would disgrace me by running away from her wedding and making a public exhibition of herself is shameful.
Good morning, Eleanor.
Oh, Peter, you too?
Well, young lady.
Father, I'm sorry. I know that what I did was pretty bad. I should have refused to go through the wedding in the first place.
But why? What possible objection can you have to Major Cheney?
Only that I'm not in love with him, Father. And I should think that would be enough reason for any father not to force his marriage into any marriage.
I'm sure you'll learn to love me, Eleanor.
Oh, nonsense. The girl doesn't know her own mind. She's much too young.
I'm old enough to be able to make up my own mind as to whom I want to marry. I'm over 21, and you can't make me marry anyone I don't want to.
Eleanor, I want you to come home and talk this over with me reasonably.
I'm sorry, Father. I know that Peter can ruin you financially, and probably will if I don't marry him. which ought to be reason enough why you shouldn't insist that I do.
Eleanor, I want you to come home with me now.
I'm sorry, Father. I'm going to live with Aunt Susan.
Let Eleanor do what she wants, Roger. I like a girl with a mind of her own. Don't worry. I'll change it.
Well, that's very decent of you, Peter. And as for you, gentlemen, you meddling, interfering French busybody...
Monsieur Sigalin, that I will not tolerate. I am not French. I am Belgian.
And you! Since when do the members of the New York police force interfere between a father and a daughter?
Huh? Well, I
Mr. Cullen, Inspector Stevens spent the evening with me as my invited guest, which is a good deal more than I can say for either yourself or Monsieur Cheney. His presence here was in a friendly, not an official capacity.
Come along, Roger. I don't think we're wanted. Oh, by the way, Inspector, if anything should happen to Mr. Poirot, anything violent, I mean, I trust that you will then be present in your official capacity. Good day, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, Pancho. Is Peter in?
I will see if the major is in.
You may as well tell him, Pancho, that I'm going to sit right here until he sees me.
I hear you, Donna. I'll be right with you.
Oh, darling, take your time. As long as I know you're here, I'm happy.
Donna, darling, I'd never keep you waiting. You know that.
Oh, Peter, I knew it wasn't true.
And if you think that was a mistake, here. All right, Pancho. Down, Murphy. Down, I say.
Oh, you've brought Muerte with you.
Where I go, he goes. He's well named, Donna. Muerte. You know.
I know. Death.
Right. I told you not to come here.
Peter, I just had to. I couldn't believe that you were going to marry that girl.
I am. And now that you know it, you can go right back to South America.
Oh, Peter, why? Why? Why do you want to marry her?
I assume you asked me that because I never wanted to marry you. You're just like all stupid women. Donna, I'm through with you.
You shan't marry her, Peter, because I'm not through with you.
Donna, you don't know what you're saying.
No, yes, I do. You're not going to marry her, do you hear? Because if you do, I'll go to the police. I'll tell them about Juan. Remember Juan, Peter? He was tied to a tree and torn to pieces by a dog. That dog might have been Muerte.
Poor Muerte. He gets blamed for everything.
And what about that Englishman? What was his name? Gibson, that's it. He died of a broken neck. You're very good with a bull whip, Peter. An expert, aren't you?
You'd actually go to the police and tell them, Donna?
I will. I swear I will if you kick me out.
Donna, you really love me. Well, we'll have to be careful, but we can arrange something.
Anything, Peter, anything you say.
I'll tell you what. Tonight I have something urgent to attend to. You meet me in Central Park late, about, say, 2:30, near the reservoir.
Why so late? Are you...
Because I won't be through until then.
Peter, if this is one of your tricks, I'll tell the police everything I know.
Oh, don't be foolish, Donna. If you'll just meet me, I assure you that won't be necessary. Easy now, Muerte. Easy. Wait, boy. Wait.
Peter! Oh, Peter, where are you?
There she is, Muerte. Get her, boy. Drive her towards me. Muerte, quiet. Heel, boy, heel. Good dog. That's a fine dog. Come on, boy. Now we can go home.
Well, that's the way we found her, Poirot. Lying in the bushes near the reservoir with her neck broken like that.
Ah, the pauvre petite. This is a most singular affair, Stevens. The manner in which the neck is broken gives one furiously to think, n'est-ce pas?
Somebody awfully powerful must have gotten hold of her.
Perhaps, but if that is true, mon ami, where are the marks of fingers?
Hey, all right, Poirot. She must have been hit with something.
Exactly, mon ami, but with what? Tell me, what was her name?
Donna Moreno. She just got in from South America yesterday.
Oh, good morning, Inspector. Good morning,
Morning.
Mr. Poirot.
Good morning.
Well, this is my first visit to a police headquarters. As the policeman downstairs said I'd find you up here, Inspector.
What do you want?
Well, I read the papers this morning. I think I may know this girl who was so unfortunately killed last night.
And so you came down here to give your knowledge to the police?
That's right, monsieur.
That was most kind of you, Monsieur Cheney.
Oh, not at all. I knew that sooner or later the police would find out that Don and I had been very good friends, and so I thought I'd better trot right over here and tell everything I know.
Do you know anything about this killing?
Oh, nothing about the killing, of course, Inspector. Donna had a lot of friends in South America, and a few enemies, too.
Did you know that Mademoiselle Donna was coming to New York?
I hadn't the slightest idea of that. We said goodbye in Rio.
Did you see Mademoiselle Donna before last night?
As a matter of fact, I did. She called on me yesterday afternoon.
And you had a quarrel?
Oh, nothing could be further from the truth. She'd heard about my unfortunate experience at my wedding, and she came to sympathize with me.
It is terrible, n'est-ce pas, that such a fine, sympathetic young lady should have met death in such a horrible manner?
It's awful that she died at all, but tell me, how did poor Donna die?
Her neck was broken by some instrument, snapped like a matchstick.
Monsieur Cheney, do you know anything about the bullwhips used by some of the gauchos in South America?
Oh, I should say I do. Why, I'm an expert with a whip myself.
That is most interesting, monsieur.
I'll say it is. This girl died about 2:30 this morning. Just where were you last night, Major Cheney?
I thought you might ask me that, so I took the liberty of bringing my servant, Pancho, with me. Pancho?
Si, Major.
Pancho, tell these gentlemen where I was last night.
Major Cheney had dinner at home and never left the house. I sat with him in the library until midnight.
I don't care about midnight. Where was he at 2:30?
Major Cheney was in bed, asleep.
You have no way of knowing that. You can tell me he went into his room, but you can't swear that he stayed there.
It is permitted to contradict the inspector.
Go right ahead, Pancho. Tell the truth.
I sleep in the same room with the Major. I am a very light sleeper. I would have noticed if the Major had left during the night. He did not.
You're willing to swear to that?
I do not make these statements which are not the truth.
Oh, well, gentlemen, I think that's all. Take care of yourself, Mr. Poirot. Evidently, there are some dangerous people loose in this town.
For the first time, Monsieur Cheney, I find myself in complete agreement with you.
Do you mind if I sit down, Eleanor?
Oh, Peter, I wish you'd leave me alone.
Aren't you tired of working, Eleanor? You don't have to, you know.
I like working. And inasmuch as I only have an hour for lunch, I'm sure you'll forgive me if I start
Oh,
thinking.
of course. By the way, I wouldn't bother about hurrying back to the office if I were you.
I certainly don't intend to be late.
It doesn't really matter. You work for the Lee Construction Company, don't you?
Why, yes, I do, but...
I have an idea that they're not going to require your services after today.
So you managed to get them to fire me.
Yes, Eleanor. And I'm telling you that I'll do the same with every job you get or try to get. I like a woman who fights, but I like to show them I can fight, too.
Oh, Peter, I don't want to fight. I just want you to leave me alone.
You know this is going to be fun. When I was in South America, I think I enjoyed the thrill of tracking an animal more than the actual kill.
Peter, this isn't a game with me. I'm not going to marry you, and I'm not going to be tracked like any animal.
No? Well, what are you going to do? I'll see that you don't get a job, you have no money, and you're too proud to take any from your aunt. You see, Eleanor, I have the advantage of knowing your weakness.
I know what I'll do. I'll...
You'll marry me. Eventually.
Poirot, I've sat in your apartment many times when we were working on a case, but I've never known as much as I do now and yet felt as helpless.
Then you do know the murder of Mademoiselle Moreno, mon ami.
Sure, don't you?
Yes, it is a certainty.
And the devil of it is we can't do a thing. I don't dare arrest that Cheney guy. I haven't got a case. That phony alibi is perfect.
No alibi is perfect, mon brave. Monsieur Cheney is a murderer, and he must be punished.
Yeah, but how? Poirot, I tell you, the DA wouldn't even take the case to court. What have we got to go on?
Well, the fact that Monsieur Cheney knows Mademoiselle Moreno, the fact that she visited him on the afternoon of her death, and the fact that Monsieur Cheney is an expert with a bullwhip, the weapon by which Mademoiselle Moreno was killed.
Yeah, but all that's the flimsiest kind of circumstantial evidence. Put all that against his alibi, and we're licked.
In this instance, mon cher Stevens, I agree with you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Poirot. Hello, Inspector.
How do you do?
Seems I come running to your apartment every time I'm in trouble.
Yeah, Mademoiselle Carlin, it is a pleasure to have your company. Although the inspector and myself regret that you are in difficulty.
It's Peter again. He won't let me alone. But I don't suppose you're interested in hearing about my trouble.
But indeed we are very much interested.
Now, careful, Poirot. I don't want to get sued for libel. And that's something this Cheney guy is perfectly capable of doing.
You mean Peter's in trouble with the police?
That is just the point, mademoiselle. Monsieur Cheney is not in trouble, but he should be.
Why? What has he done?
First, what has he been doing to annoy you?
Well, he's gotten me fired from my job and threatened to keep me from working. And he seems perfectly able to do it.
Christy Stevens, this Cheney must be checked.
Yeah, but how?
What has he done?
He is a murderer, mademoiselle. Of that we are perfectly certain. But he is diabolically clever. He has found a simple way of committing murder so that we know he has done it, and yet we cannot prove it in a court of law.
Now, please don't tell anybody, Miss Carlin.
Oh, no.
I can't tell you how we're going to handle him, though. He has an unbreakable alibi.
Mon ami, he has, therefore we must break it. And I think I know how.
Well, are you going to let me in on this?
Most certainly, mon vieux. Mademoiselle, you said that Monsieur Cheney still wants you to marry him?
Yes, and it frightens me.
That I can understand, mademoiselle. But that makes me believe that we can start to begin to arrive in the vicinity of somewhere.
I beg your pardon? What did you say?
Carlin, that means he has an idea.
Exactly, mon cher Stevens. The little gray cells have found a way.
What are you going to do?
First, I am going to the Museum of Art, monsieur. And if I find what I seek, then I go to pay a call on Monsieur Cheney. May I see Monsieur Cheney?
Oh, this way, senor.
Ah, Mr. Poirot, this is a surprise. I'm glad to see you.
Monsieur Cheney, you have been a great deal in my thoughts.
I'm sure I have, and you in mine. Would you care to see my collection of heads? It's even finer than the one in the Museum of Art.
But I should enjoy that immensely, monsieur.
Oh, they're right in this other room.
And while we are examining the collection, we shall talk, eh?
Of course, of course. What about? Murder?
You have said it, monsieur.
Now, here's a head I'm particularly proud of. It's the head of a man named Juan who died in a most peculiar circumstance. Some animal had chewed him almost to pieces, yet you can hardly see the trace of a scar.
Perhaps he was murdered, monsieur.
Well, now, what makes you say that? Down, Muerte. Stay back.
It seems that so many things about you, Monsieur Cheney, bring murder to my mind. Even your dog is named Death.
That's because he's dangerous, Mr. Poirot. I always think people should be warned, don't you?
But of course. And did you warn poor Mademoiselle Donna, monsieur?
Well, now, why should you think I had anything to do with Donna's death? I do admire the way it was done, though, quickly and efficiently.
I understand you have been annoying Mademoiselle Carlin.
I thought we were going to talk about murder. Oh, now, here's another fine example of the art of shrinking human heads.
Murder and marriage, monsieur. I just thought it fair to warn you that I will not allow Mademoiselle Carlin to marry a murderer.
Good for you, good for you. I wouldn't want Eleanor to marry someone like that either.
Monsieur, I am saying that I know you are a murderer. I am also saying that I will not permit Mademoiselle Carlin to marry you even if she wants to.
And I'm telling you that it's none of your business.
And, Monsieur Cheney, I shall do everything in my power to help Mademoiselle Carlin, financially and otherwise.
You will persist in sticking your neck out.
And you break necks that are in your way. N'est-ce pas?
Sometimes. But listen, Mr. Poirot, I have too much respect for you to want to quarrel. I'd like to get together when I've had time to think this over, and maybe we can talk more reasonably.
Anytime you say, monsieur.
Well, frankly, I'm too upset now to be able to think clearly. Shall we say, tonight at 11?
Consider it said, monsieur. Shall we meet here?
No, I'd rather not.
Oh, come. Surely you are not going to ask me to meet you in the park.
Oh, no, of course not. I don't think you would anyway. Not without being followed by a good number of police.
And you would not like that, monsieur?
I think our meeting place should be private, don't you?
By all means, monsieur.
And I have it. There's an old hot dog stand out on Long Island, been abandoned for quite a while, just a few miles east of Bayville on Route 19. It's in the middle of a vacant lot. Nothing around for miles. You can see anyone coming miles away. How about meeting me there?
Monsieur Cheney, you have an appointment.
Poirot, I don't like it.
I cannot say, mon ami, that I am pleased at the idea myself, but it must be done.
But you won't even let me have Collins trail you.
It is useless, monsieur. This must be done this way or not at all.
Okay. Tell me what you want me to do.
It is simple but vital.
You must go to the house of Monsieur Cheney and tell his servant Pancho that Monsieur Cheney has been hurt, badly hurt.
But will he believe me?
It is essential that he must. If he needs convincing, tell him that he was hurt because of his appointment with me, that Pancho must come with you immediately, that Monsieur Cheney needs him.
Yeah, but suppose he won't come.
He must, or you will be in the terrible situation of having to solve murders without the assistance of Hercule Poirot.
Mercy.
Easy, boy. Wait a minute. Bonsoir, Monsieur Cheney. Is that you?
Down, Murphy. Down. Good evening, Mr. Poirot. I'm glad to see you came alone. Don't stay so far away. Come up a little closer.
I do not like the actions of your dog, monsieur.
No? Well, I don't think he likes you either. Get him, Murphy. Get him.
Come, Monsieur Cheney. That was stupid of you, eh? Did you think I would come unarmed to meet you?
I'm glad to see the pistol in your hand.
Oh, sir. May I congratulate you, monsieur? You are most expert with that whip.
Thanks. Start running, Mr. Poirot. I always like to give the ones I hunt an even break.
In this case, monsieur, you are doomed to disappointment. I shall not run. If you think you can break my neck with that whip, I am unable to stop you. But I warn you, Monsieur Cheney, you will die for it.
And that takes care of you, Mr. Poirot.
Come in, Mr. Cheney, and sit down.
Oh, thank you, Inspector. I seem to be spending a good deal of time at police headquarters lately.
I'm warning you, Cheney. I'm holding you for the murder of Hercule Poirot. And anything you say may be used in evidence against you.
Oh, don't be ridiculous, my dear Inspector. Oh, what is this, a joke or something? If it is, it's in very bad taste.
Stop stalling, Cheney. I've got you dead to rights.
I begin to see. This is evidently a trap of some kind. Mr. Poirot pretends to be dead
Cheney,
while you...
I've arrested a lot of cold-blooded killers in my time. But I tell you, I've never been as vindictive towards any of them as I feel towards you. You not only killed a great detective, but the best friend I ever had.
Before you go any further, Inspector, I'd like to warn you that I'm going to sue you for false arrest and libel, or else have you put in an insane asylum.
I suppose you're going to tell me you were home all night and your servant Pancho was prepared to swear to it.
That's exactly what I'm telling you.
Okay, that's it. That's all I wanted to hear. Come in, Pancho.
Oh, Pancho, will you please tell the Inspector where I was this evening? Well? Pancho, what's the matter with you? Tell the Inspector where I was.
Please to forgive Pancho, Major. I cannot.
Have you lost your mind? Tell him, Pancho.
No, it's not Pancho's fault, Cheney. He can't tell me because I was with him every minute this evening from 10:30 on.
What?
Yes, that's it. Poirot knew you'd try to kill him the same way and create the same alibi. He took a chance and laid down his life in order to trap you.
Well, it's too bad I didn't foresee that. But at least I got Poirot.
Well, I'm glad you see it that way. Here's a confession on the Moreno killing, too.
Yes, I did it. Just too bad, Pancho, that you weren't a little smarter, or I'd have gotten away with the Poirot killing, too.
Pardon, Monsieur Cheney.
Poirot? What?
That is one murder you would never have gotten away with.
But, Poirot, I thought...
You thought I was dead, mon ami. I intended you should. In no other way could you have played your part so convincingly.
I never missed with that whip.
And you did not miss this time, Monsieur Cheney. However, you neglected to find out whether or not I was wearing a steel collar.
A steel collar?
A steel collar. The Museum of Art has one of the finest collections of 15th century armor in the world. I was fortunate in finding a collar that fit me. It was most uncomfortable, but most effective.
Poirot, I'm certainly glad that you're alive, but don't ever do that again.
What, mon ami? Make believe I am dead?
No. Hide in my office without my knowing it. It would make me look like an awful fool in front of the commissioner.
Be sure to listen next week when Agatha Christie, America's favorite mystery writer, brings you her favorite detective, Hercule Poirot, starring Harold Huber in The Letter and the Mad Woman. Mystery for Hercule Poirot is composed and conducted by Sylvan Levin. The program is directed by Carl Eastman. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Cerebral Cinema hopes you have enjoyed this movie of the mind.